At 5, a Mobile County judge hearing arguments today on a request to strip the Prichard Waterboard of its day-to-day control over the system. Synovus Bank says the water system hasn't lived up to its agreements it made when it borrowed nearly $56 million back in 2019. Fox News' Brendan Kirby sitting through all that testimony today. He now joins us live from Government Plaza. And Brendan, there's a lot of moving parts of this whole thing, right?
Yeah, there sure are, Byron. Most lawsuits have two sides. This one has four: the bank, the utility, and then two different citizens groups who have intervened, and they both have different goals. A lawyer for Synovus Bank, former Alabama Senator Doug Jones, says the dispute is simple. The Prichard Waterworks and Sewer Board borrowed money and has failed to make required monthly deposits into a bond fund used to pay investors who bought the bonds.
I think the board has a history of mismanagement, and they've been in default of the motion. Remember, these bonds were done in order to pay off other bonds, and so they've just been kicking the can down the road.
Dean Matthews, a Synovus Bank executive who is in charge of managing the bonds on behalf of the investors, spent much of the morning on the witness stand. He referenced the pending criminal charges against former utility employees Nia Bradley and Teresa Lewis, who stand accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from the system. Matthews testified in painstaking detail about missed and partial payments into the bond fund as required by the agreement, and he said that the board failed to provide several years' worth of audited financial statements. Attorneys for the water system argue they've made strides in putting the system back on track, recently raising rates by 22% and installing new management. Board Attorney Jay Ross says the water system signed a letter of intent last week to negotiate a long-term agreement with a private consortium that would invest $100 million. That would
might solve most of the problems. They're working. Whether it's enough to change things, we'll see.
Meanwhile, the community group We Matter 8 Mile Community Association has asked Mobile County Circuit Judge Michael Youngpeter to hold off ruling on the Synovus request for 90 days. That would give the Environmental Protection Agency time to consider a request by the Southern Environmental Law Center to step in with emergency grants for the water system.
We're hopeful that the EPA will come in.
Former Prichard City Councilwoman Severia Campbell Morris of the group United Concerned Citizens of Prichard says the group welcomes help from the EPA, but she says it should be done under the supervision of a receiver.
We definitely, under any circumstances, do we want this board to do anything else for us. We do not want Prichard Water and Sewer Board in control of anything. That's the main thing.
As I mentioned, the board last month approved a 22% rate increase. But according to testimony today, the board was prepared in April to go even bigger, a temporary 6-month 40.5% rate increase. That was part of a plan to buy up properties in Alabama Village and then shut it down in an attempt to stamp out those leaks. But the bank wouldn't go along with it. Reporting live from Government Plaza, Brendan Kirby, Fox 10 News.